How you doing? How you doing? And how you doing, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Patty, and look, we're back in Raja. I know, surprise, surprise. I have a very, 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 very little amount of time right now. I've got a lot of stuff going on in my personal life. So I, of course, had to pop up right as soon as I was trying to bury myself in the beta. So we've been able to put about 20 or so hours into the beta, but I need to spend a lot more time on that for Genshin Impact to be able to do the couple of videos that I really want to do with that one right now. So you guys are getting a Raja video today, and I want this to be a suggestions video. So we've done this once before, like a month or two maybe into in a Dragon Raja, where we had like a suggestion videos where we just went through and try and highlighted some stuff that we thought was, relatively constructive, would be relatively easy from a developer side to implement. And I kind of just asked, people to put their own suggestions in as well. And I want to continue and do that again today. But what I want to talk about is essentially like what lessons can we learn from Dragon Raja for Noah's Heart? So essentially, what things can they take from this game to try and make a much better game with Noah's Heart? Because I love Dragon Raja. It's got its issues. I'm excited that they have another game coming in the pipeline, and that it's very likely that we will not see that game globally until at least 2021, possibly as late as 2022, especially if this follows the same path that Dragon Raja did, where it releases and CN way before it releases globally. So if we see that same thing happen again, it could be quite a while, until we get Noah's Heart. Which should also mean that it's still early enough in development that if anyone has a perfect suggestion or thing that'll make it the greatest game of all time, now would be a really good time to get that suggestion, because it'd be more likely that it could be brought into the game and everything. So that's kind of what I want to do in this video. I want to highlight some stuff from me personally that I think that they should take from and learn from, and be able to translate that into the newer game, and I'd like you guys to be able to have that input as well. I did last time we tried to do this type of video, tried to forward it along to the Dragon Raja team, but fun fact, outside of the awesome moderators that aren't actually working for the company on the official Discord, I've never gotten a response once from anybody from the Dragon Raja team, and I've tried to reach out to them a few times. So, but nonetheless, I like to try to be, positive, or at least affect things in a positive way. So that's kind of what we want to do here today. So, what's some of Patty's top things that he thinks would really help make Noah's Heart a better game with a longer life? Yeah, number one's going to be transparency. Just flat out, we need to know what our stats are. We need to know what our stats do, and that information needs to be forthcoming. That's going to give us a better understanding of the game. It's going to lead to people being able to engage more and get more indebted into it. Or sorry, not indebted. Excuse me. Embedded into it. Freudian slip there. If, especially with mobile games, the way that you have a longer life product is that people understand it, that people feel that their time invested with it is not only valued, but it's prosperous. That's how you get these games to last years and years and years. Otherwise, you're in this cycle, especially from a developer standpoint, where you bring people in, your average play time, your average user is only playing for maybe a month, maybe 3 months before stopping playing the game. And then you have a very small percentage out of the total players that tried it that end up sticking with it. You can end up with a much, much larger, like 2 to 3 times larger player base that sticks with a game if the product is I don't want to say relatively stress-free, because it needs to be satisfying, but it can't be confusing. It can't, you have to know what you're doing and what impact it has and what value it really has. When we don't know what our crit rate is, when we don't know, what all these stats are doing, or where the diminishing return thresholds are, or any of that information, you're spending so much time in the dark that your chances of getting frustrated with it and not wanting to continue to put time into it is very, very high. And in my time of covering Dragon Raja, I've seen a huge rotation of players. We've got all of the new SEA players right now, and I wish I could make some more videos more tailored to you guys specifically. The best thing that I can suggest is to just kind of go back and watch some of my older videos and everything, because with your guys' release schedule, it should help, but it's very difficult for me now to make guides that are going to be effective for you guys, because the power gap is so vast. And the things you're going to prioritize where we are right now aren't going to be the same thing that you guys prioritize, months and months ago, because most people, have a level 10 core and everything for the most part already. Most people have gotten their stuff up to wings. So it's, and these things take a long amount of time, so it's it's hard to make content that'll be really, really valuable for you guys. And I want the things that I do to have a level of impact, or at least, help people in some way. So that's what we try to do. But if you want to, retain players, you need to listen to them to a certain degree. And I did not see a lot of back and forth between the developers and the community. So I think if you can try and improve that, or at least take as many of the things that upset people about the current game into what you're doing with the new one, you might end up with something that, you don't have to release another game after a year and a half, 2 years after you put out that one, because yours might still be healthy enough that you're doing strong. So transparency, obviously the biggest thing that, we would be looking for in the new game. We want to know what all of our stuff are doing. It would also help to, have slightly more detailed, skills. Buffs, I think, do a very good job of being descriptive, but very difficult, in essence, to be able to see. So right now, if I wanted to know what any of my buffs were doing, I would have to click onto my character, click on a buffs, and hope the one that I wanted to check is still up and didn't just close out. So I think something that would be pretty helpful is the ability to kind of click on them up here and be able to see what they are without having to go through to that other screen. There's not really a whole lot of other stuff we're clicking on up here, so you shouldn't have too much of an issue with it being a hard to do thing. You should be able to just mouse, hold over it, and see what all that stuff is, without having to go back. Another big thing that I would probably hammer home is that y'all did a great job with there being, potentially several hours worth of stuff to do for your dailies. But the problem is that it takes, an hour or two to do all of your dailies. That is a pretty hefty time chunk to, require people to do to be able to keep up. It would be nice if there was plenty of things to do, but your daily requirements were either less or easier to knock out while still having a good value. Because right now, a lot of the things in the game aren't super accessible to everybody. If you're not playing with a large social group and everything, some of the dungeons can be almost impossible to do after after the weekly reset, when there's a ton of people who will, knock out all of their weekly quests that day, and then trying to go back and do dungeons as someone that missed all of that, your chances are pretty slim. So seeing a little bit of an improvement there would be a nice thing. Be great if my dailies didn't take 2 hours to play, because then every time I'm logging in, I'm just doing dailies. And again, that leads to burnout. That leads to people, not really enjoying because they're not actively playing and engaged in the game. They're running through a checklist that they have to run through. That cannot be very satisfying for very many people for very long. So those are some of the things that you want to consider when thinking about those design choices when you're putting your game together. I would love to see Noah's Heart's dungeon system be greatly improved. The fact that, one of the biggest things is that what I was just talking about, where it's very hard to find dungeon groups to begin with. So if you could incentivize that system, or at least not punish people that run dungeons lots of times, that would be nice. Because it's one of the things that is very interesting in the game, but I don't know. Personally, I don't have a whole lot of time to, get a dedicated group and then just run the same, or do the weekly reset runs and knock all that out. Like I said in the previous video where we kind of touched on what our suggestions in the game would be, one of the things that I talked about was, maybe removing the gear drops. Not removing the gear drops, excuse me. Remove the limitations on gear drops and change the limitation to be, okay, you only have, 2-3 chances at getting drat gear while running these dungeons during the week. But after those first couple of runs, only regular gear will drop. That still allows people to, try and get better stuff to reroll their gear, or try and build up soul whispers to be able to try and buy some draconic gear. It's not going to completely break the bank, but it's going to give a good part of your game, and the dungeons are good, the ability to have more life and people to be able to do them more, and make it easier for people to get their weeklies done that have time constraints and prevent them from being able to do them on resets. It just gives, more room for that part of the game to take place. Which again, I think some of the best things in Dragon Raja are not where you spend as much time as you would want to. So there's absolutely amazing things in this game. But unfortunately, you don't spend most of your time doing amazing things. You spend a lot of time, for most people, doing dailies. So introducing things and giving some flexibility to your dungeon system would allow more room for a community to be there, I guess, is the best way to kind of put what I'm talking about. Because if you give people that space and you give people that ability without, giving them the whole keys to the kingdom, you don't need to have a chance to get Drak gear every dungeon run. That can totally be a limited thing, and I think that is completely fair and balanced. And I don't think giving people the ability for gear to drop is completely game breaking, and that's giving too much away. I think it's giving just enough away to incentivize people and make them stay engaged with the content, because that's the idea. You want to add a lifetime or lifespan to your game as much as that you can. So I think those kinds of changes, or that kind of philosophy when you're going into the dungeons, would make a big difference in player retention. There's a few other things that, I would say are probably not my favorite things about the game, but I don't readily and quickly have a great way to fix any of them. So I'm kind of just going to sit on some of that stuff. I think the only other really major thing that I would say with Noah's Heart, and I think this potentially won't be an issue because this is a brand new IP. This isn't, Dragon Raja, where it's happening inside of a world where there are set characters and set story. But your playable character, your main character, kind of just feels like a side character in the main story. Everything that happens is happening with everyone else. All the important dialogue is happening with other people. If you take you out of all of those stories, they're basically the same. Just someone else has to go grab the milk. That's really about it. So in Noah's Heart, one of my strongest suggestions would to put your character more center stage, have it be more your story where you feel engaged, because that's a very common thing that I've seen from people, is that, you know, the story's good, they just wish they were actually a part of it and they don't feel like they're a part of it. So those are kind of my biggest things that I would say, you know, they need to take a hard look at while they're in development for Noah's Heart right now, and that I think would help make the healthiest changes that would bring more life and more value to their game. So let me know if you guys have any suggestions yourself. I do ask that, you know, you try to be as, you know, realistic as possible with them and everything. You know, we could ask them, oh, could you guys just completely remove the pay-to-win system? That's not going to happen. They got to make money. But if there's things that you can think about with the game mechanically that you could see improvements on, I think now's a great time to put all that stuff forward. So let me know what y'all got. I appreciate your faces. I would definitely appreciate y'all going and checking out some of the Genshin content. Quick question. I'm just kind of vaguely curious to see how many people actually got alerts for the Genshin videos that I have out right now. Something that I found out after doing a YouTube stream is that after your stream ends, YouTube then uploads the video to your channel, and analytics wise, it treats it the same as any of your other videos. So if that, you know, people don't go and watch your 3-hour stream and it gets 1/8 of your views, the analytics are going to be like, oh, okay, well, let's stop showing his stuff as much and everything. So I'm kind of curious to see if, you know, some of those things just kind of nuked myself in the foot a little bit. But I appreciate you guys' faces. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Thank you ahead of time for them wonderful, wonderful suggestions. And yeah, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Probably going to be a Genshin video tomorrow. So appreciate your faces. You have to catch your boy in the next one, because we out of here. Deuces.